Hello, everybody. Welcome to Last Man Standing, episode 30. I am Tony Farmer. He is Ryan Hogue, the last man standing in the 2003 NFL Draft, drafted by the Raiders. We're here with a little reaction show to react to the Week 14 selection counts from Circa Survivor. Before we get to all that, though, let me remind you, we did an episode that was a full breakdown earlier in the week, episode 29, where we went through every single game on the Week 14 slate from a Survivor pool perspective. Talked a lot about Circa Survivor. So if you missed that episode and you're watching this one now, definitely go back and check that episode out. Ryan, how are you doing? What are you up to tonight, brother?
I'm in Minneapolis, cleaning my apartment and going through mail. It's a pretty chill night.
Nice, man. Nice. The calm before the storm before a full slate of NFL games tomorrow. I like it, dude.
Yeah.
I just got out of a comedy show at Joe Rogan's Comedy Club, The Mothership in Austin, Texas. Saw a comedian I had never heard of before, and maybe people are going to laugh because maybe he's more well-known, but Kyle Dunnigan. It was a really, really good show, and enjoyed it, man. Just literally walked in the door like minutes ago, which is why the show is a little delayed tonight. So appreciate everybody's patience out there, and Ryan's especially. I haven't had much time to digest this selection count, so we're going to kind of process this all together. I also haven't had any time to make a graphic, so this is what I'm going to do. If you guys can see this on my screen, we got 20 on the Steelers, 11 on the Eagles, 7 on the Bucks, 4 on the Vikings, 4 on the Dolphins, 3 on the Bengals, 2 on the Saints only. I thought there might be more on the Saints, and 1 on the Titans. And Ryan, this time of year, sorry for the shakiness, guys, but this time of year, whenever we get down to it, you got to first talk about anybody from like Vikings on down, because their fantasy tomorrow is that their team wins, everybody else loses, and we're down to 4 people left in the case of the Vikings, 2 people left in the case of the Saints, or this Titans guy, he can win tomorrow. But I want to start off talking about this Titans guy, Ryan, because he had the Eagles available. 3 people had the Eagles available against the Panthers, and maybe they like the Eagles the last week of the season against the Giants, and maybe they're saving them for the last week. That's not what I would have done in that spot. I think that's a perfect damn spot to use the Eagles up against the Panthers. Are you surprised 3 people didn't go ahead and fire away with the Eagles? Those 3 people, by the way, went Tennessee, as you saw. 1 went Pittsburgh, 1 went Tampa. Are you surprised about that?
Well, we talk about it all year, Tony, is that you want to zig when people zag, and they're looking at the big picture. And I truly believe that the winner of this competition is going to do something extraordinary, and it might be, out of kind of, a very mysterious pick to some, but when you look back at it, you're going to be like, yeah, that was the pick that did it. If it's Tennessee, and not that everybody's going to lose besides Tennessee this week, I highly doubt that, but that is the kind of pick. I love the Tennessee over Jacksonville, especially that Trevor Lawrence is out.
Tyson Campbell too, right?
Yep, I love that pick, and I also I really I stand. I talked about it on my radio show yesterday. I convinced myself even more. I am all in on the Raiders beating the Bucks this week. So those 9 people or 7 people, was it 9 that picked the Bucks? I really believe they're going to be sweating.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big surprises too, and maybe it's because people are watching our show. I thought there was going to be more on the Bucks. Because there was a lot of people who had the opportunity to go Steelers or Bucks, and I thought with the news that George Pickens is limited in practice on Friday out of nowhere with a hamstring injury, that's not the kind of update you want to hear if you were planning on putting your pick in on the Steelers. That is, especially the Steelers team, they've got a bunch of solid number 2 receivers. They don't really have that guy that's a number 1 receiver that's like a possession receiver that's going to move the chains. So I think Pickens being out is really a big deal for the Steelers, and I'm surprised it didn't scare more people off Pittsburgh onto Tampa or onto some of these other teams. Would you agree, if you're on the Steelers, you're so far kind of like the losers in this? Like if there's anybody that's disappointed with the way this selection count came out, it's got to be the Steelers here with 20.
I would agree with that. I also think that Pickens will play, and he'll play well, especially in this of how the game ended with him and Denzel Ward fighting in the snow, getting slammed into the back of the stadium. I really believe that Pickens will, maybe he's not 100%. A lot of that time, a lot of that also is gamemanship and things like that. But so we'll see. And Christian House obviously says people are saving the Bucks for week 16, 17, 18. I think that's a smart move because I really believe that the Bucks are in jeopardy.
Well, you save the Bucks for later in the season when theoretically they're going to be competing for a playoff spot to win that division against the Falcons. So theoretically, you're going to be getting the Bucks' best effort from here on out. Not a bad idea to save them for later in the season. By the way, Christian, I know you're still in this thing. Let us know who you ended up going with because we're all rooting for you on the show. Ryan and I want you to succeed. So let us know where you landed. A couple other notes from these selection counts, Ryan. There were 2 people that had multiple entries, 2 entries each. One of them split them up and went Pittsburgh and Tampa. And the other one was our good friend, NFL Wise Guys. And I keep looking at my phone because I want to pull this up and show you guys myself. Both on Miami. How about those balls? Both on Miami. I know you like that game, right?
Yeah, as soon as I saw Breece Hall out, although they have a great backup, unless Aaron Rodgers can, do ayahuasca and think he's, 30 years old again and go back. Like, I see a team, and I don't know if Sauce Gardner is going to play. Like, I just see a team that is he's out. Yeah, and I just see a team that has kind of been packing it in the last couple weeks. So I don't see that team has a lot to play for. Where Miami has a glimmer of hope, and they have the extra rest. So I think Miami, like we said, they play really well against teams that they feel like they can beat and should beat, and I think this is one of those games.
Ryan, I gotta go back to something you said earlier. You said, you'd guess that Pickens is gonna play. Is that based off of a guy who's hurt his hamstring in practice before? Is that just based off of the reports that you're reading? Is that just based off the fact that you think he's gonna be motivated to get out of there because of the trash talk? Like, what are the reasons that you're leaning more toward him more likely to play than not?
So I obviously have multiple hamstring injuries that I overcame, and depending on if he pulled it, it doesn't matter how tough you are. Like, if you pulled your hamstring, you can't play. But the way he talked to the media, it made me feel as though there is no way he's missing this game. He's also the type of receiver that if he was going to be out, I could see him absolutely just saying it, even though Tomlin's probably like, don't you dare. I could see Pickens being like, well, I'm not going to be out there, so hopefully my brothers can win. Like, he's just that guy, right? Yeah. And the fact that he was, saying like, who's Denzel Ward? Never heard of him. I find it hard to believe that guy's going to miss this game, especially coming off, a loss last time they played, and the division title being in their grasp.
Pickens is not known as a team first guy. I mean, you and I have talked on numerous occasions, shared clips of him on numerous occasions, doing things, whether it be not hustling or things like that, taking plays off. If you're on the Steelers here, maybe not a major concern, but with there being so much trash talk during the week, do you worry that there's going to be like a really bad 15-yard penalty that he's going to get that's going to like set his team back in the fourth quarter or something like that?
Well, I mean, I think that's a viable thing every single week as long as he's on your team. I do think that Mike Tomlin has gotten to a point where he's finally called him out in the media and said he needs to grow up. And I think that if the first instance of this game, I think he'd be benched. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Or maybe they were giving us a little bit of, hey, he's got his hamstring injury, which he really doesn't, knowing that, hey, if you slip up, we're going to say you hurt your hamstring and we're going to shut you down for the game. So I could absolutely see them just, so it takes it out of having to explain everything. We're just going to be like, nope, he tweaked his hammy, he's out.
Right, right. That's a good call. That's an interesting theory there. Ryan, the same question I ask you every week on our Saturday show. Who do you think is going to be the biggest number to drop?
Well, I would bet my 401k against yours that not everybody is going to go through this week. And I'm happy
Yeah.
to do that if you would like to. And I don't need to even care if you have a 401k. I'll put mine up against yours. And that is how confident I am that somebody in this group is going to
Sure.
lose. Absolutely. I don't love, I mean, I think the Bengals is a complete coin flip. You know, Monday Night Football, you just don't know what's going to happen with the Cowboys and if they decide to try. I think, like I said, the Buccaneers. And I also think that Kirk Cousins, the revenge angle is real. I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to be on the field for this game tomorrow in Minneapolis. I think Kirk Cousins throws for 300 yards for sure and has a really, really good game. I think he is out to prove a point, and I think they're going to win the division, and it starts with them winning this week.
All right. I think I know your answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Steelers, Eagles, Bucks, which is the most likely to go down of those three?
Well, let me just I'll say between the Steelers and the Eagles. I would say the Steelers, between the Steelers and the Eagles, are more likely to lose just because, you know, Jameis Winston, you know, he likes to throw to the other team, but if he decides on any given week not to, like, their offense can be pretty dynamic. They got Njoku playing well, they got Nick Chubb back and healthy, and you know, he's got a little ability to wiggle in the pocket, which when you don't have a great offensive line, like, you know, they can throw the ball around, and obviously they beat him a few weeks ago. So, but I obviously the Bucks are the answer, I would say.
All right, let's give out an award here today, Ryan. Oh, and by the way, let me get rid of Christian's comment here. He's on the Steelers. I want to give out an award. Let's say tomorrow, we don't think this is going to happen, but let's say the Steelers, Eagles, and Bucks all go down tomorrow. Very unlikely, but it could. We've seen crazier things than that in the NFL. Who gets the award of all these people in the single digits for the slickest island pick? Like, which one of those are you like, you know what? Tip of the cap. I like what you did there. Dolphins, Bengals, Saints, Titans, Vikings.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's either Dolphins, Saints, or Titans for me. The Saints play who again?
Saints are going against the Giants in New York. Bunch of injuries for the Giants, by the way. Saints without Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I love the Saints in that. But I have to say, you know, the Titans, nobody has any reason to pick the Titans the rest of the year. I think if they are willing to pick a division matchup, right? Kelvin Ridley revenge game.
Ooh, good call.
Right. And, you know, just, you know, if somebody's really going to be like, you know what, Trevor Lawrence is out, I really like Titans D, I don't think Mac Jones can score against it, I love it. Good for you.
Yeah. And, you know, I think one of the reasons why we saw 20 people end up on the Steelers here is the Steelers' schedule going forward. You've got them against the Ravens. Granted, it's on Christmas, but if you're feeling secure about Christmas and you've got a backup plan or two, you got them against the Chiefs. Excuse me. Chiefs Steelers is Christmas. And if you've got a backup plan or two, you're not needing to take them in that spot. Or you could take them against the Ravens. That doesn't feel good. Or you could take them against the Bengals last game of the season. That doesn't feel good. So unless you need Pittsburgh on Christmas, this is the spot to use the Steelers. So in that way, I'm not super surprised we've got 20 people on the Steelers here.
However, Tony, couldn't you see the Bengals shutting down Ja'Marr Chase last game of the year?
Yeah.
Or Ja'Marr Chase. Like, if Ja'Marr Chase isn't in contention for winning, like, the Triple Crown or whatever it might be for receivers, like, why wouldn't, I mean, he wants a big contract. Like, what is he motivated to play for in that last week? Joe Burrow, they could sit him down since he's the franchise. Like, you just don't, like, they have nothing to play for. Zero, except maybe, you know, streaks or records. But whereas I think the Steelers absolutely will potentially be playing for the 2 seed and things like that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, Ryan, because I think when we think about the last week of the season, we always think about the team that has the number 1 seed locked up, and they may be resting their starters. But what we don't often think about is a team that, like, say in the NFC, maybe like the Packers or somebody like that, who might have like the 4 spot knocked up and they can't move up or down. They're locked into the 4 spot, win or lose. And you're planning on using the Packers because they're going to be fighting. And it's like, no, that game's meaningless to them as a 4 seed too. So keep that in mind as we move forward. There may be some teams that have nothing to play for, even though they're already in the playoffs and aren't 1 seeds as well. Any other thoughts here, Ryan, before we sign off and let people enjoy the games tomorrow?
Well, I answered all those questions. I'm curious who your biggest dog that you don't feel good about. I know you got a little piece of the Pittsburgh bandwagon, but do you feel great about that?
I wouldn't say I feel great about the Steelers. If Pickens is playing tomorrow, I'll feel a lot better about the Steelers. If Pickens is out tomorrow, they're probably the team amongst Steelers and Eagles. Ah, man. That Bucs game, dude. That Bucs game is interesting. I'm going to say the Bucs are the most likely to lose out of those 3 tomorrow. Yeah. I think they're really bad defending tight ends. Top 5 worst team in the league defending tight ends. That's what the Raiders do best. And maybe Norv Turner and Scott Turner can turn a corner here. And no, we've seen them turn the corner already. Maybe they can keep that momentum going in this game against the Bucs. So I'm gonna say the Bucs is the answer to that question. The Slick Award question that I asked you, I think you got to be feeling good if you're that Titans guy. I like that move. You are the only guy or gal who's on a team that's playing, I know it's a division rival, but another team without their starting quarterback and without their starting cornerback, number 1 corner. Ryan Hogue always talking about how important a number 1 corner is for a defense, a good one. And Tyson Campbell's very underrated, good number 1 cornerback. So I'm going to say that dude on the Titans has got to be feeling real good about this selection count right now, for sure. He gets to look for carnage beside his game tomorrow. So one other note I think is interesting about tomorrow is that most of these games that mean something for Survivor purposes, they're all in the early window. So we're going to have a lot of action right off the bat, 1 o'clock if you're on Eastern time zone, 10 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, etc. It's all going to be happening at once in that early slot. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Right on. Well, good luck to all of our listeners, and go Raiders.
Yep, absolutely. We got another comment coming in. We'll sign off with this comment. But if you're watching the show and you're still alive in Circa Survivor, enjoy it, soak it up, because you never know when this ride is going to end. Potentially a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You've already done the hard part. That was make the pick. Now sit back and enjoy the games tomorrow. Take care, everybody.